Hey, Kyle, you stopped us from being able to show our video. Were you able to hear me, Kyle?
Yeah, it's also being streamed. It's live. You should be able to show your video though.
It says can't start because the host has stopped it. Nice.
Shit.
Hey, we're live.
Yep. Let's wait for 4 minutes though.
You can pause the recording right now.
No, it's live on YouTube.
Got it.
Kyle, check your messages real quick. Hey, Kyle, did you make Ryan a host so he could turn his video on?
Should be able to now. All right, it's 11. Hey, Ryan. Hey, everybody. Kyle Thomas here, along with Jack, Dave, and Ryan and Taylor from Provide. Really we want to thank everyone for tuning in and checking out our Web3 webinar series. We're very humble and excited to be here, even through a cold bear market winter in the crypto space. As always, there's a lot of entertainment to be had, and in these markets, and we're just very, very happy again, to be here. So, with that said, let me share my screen here. So we've really updated sort of our messaging here, for 2023, and we'll sort of get into that, and then we'll pass it around a little bit. Ryan is gonna share some exciting new stuff that we've been working on, and David is going to share a demo of some other exciting stuff we've been working on. And we're again, thanks for being here.
Some of the very quickly, some of the key learnings and takeaways that we hope to impart on the group, and to have as value takeaways coming from this are things such as how to think about data synchronization and asset tokenization, how enterprises digitally transform using open source Web3 infrastructure, what is composable zero knowledge privacy. You've been hearing Provide throw around that term. What do we really mean by that, and what are we doing around that? Applying the baseline protocol to business use cases. We're, as Kyle mentioned, going to do a product demo of Shuttle, which is the first zero knowledge data synchronization solution. How to easily integrate systems like SAP and ServiceNow, and understanding the role of blockchains in the synchronization of systems.
Yeah, and also, on top of that, we're really a mission driven. We want to, really be a mission driven community, and really grow and establish our community in a new way moving forward. Let's get into this a little bit. So Provide is Web3 infrastructure for synchronizing data and tokenizing enterprise assets. Our mission is to accelerate the adoption of Web3 infrastructure to transform global commerce for the benefit of humanity. There's really this lack of data synchronization between systems, in particular enterprise systems, that results in very poor data quality and really hinders digital transformation in the enterprise, and especially in the context of DeFi, decentralized finance. It's very difficult for organizations to adopt that new paradigm of finance, because their systems can't, they're already not able to communicate. And it's a pretty big problem across the world, that these systems just simply are just not in sync. So we really developed this industry standard Web3 infrastructure for synchronizing the world's data and systems using blockchain. That's very much behind the scenes, and we really feel like we've, over the last several years, developed the enterprise relationships and put those in place so that Provide can lead the transformation, this digital transformation towards DeFi. And we feel like we've built the Web3 infrastructure, the open source Web3 infrastructure that's really required to lead that transformation. And so, in order to really do this, we're looking, to bring DeFi into the enterprise. It's really a two-phase process, right? The first phase is to keyhole into the digital transformation market in the enterprise, and that is essentially put the Provide stack in by way, to these organizations by way of digital transformation projects that connect their ERP and CRM systems. And then the second phase, of course, is once you've done that, once you've sort of keyholed into that market, you can deploy DeFi solutions into the network.
So just briefly touching on the way in which we see ourselves differentiating from the competition that we interact with and see within the market today. Traditionally, those are more of those kind of traditional integration middleware systems, and where Provide and the ecosystem that we have been cultivating for some time now really differentiates are around the type of applications that we're seeking to deploy. These are true Web3, no code, low code applications that are able to incorporate both NFTs and smart contracts as part of the applications of which that we're deploying. You know, we're going to go deeper into the Provide Sync app, which is our ServiceNow Web3 application today. But for example, within that will be really the first true Web3 application within the ServiceNow store. You know, from an integration approach, what we're ultimately integrating are public blockchains into this open source technology stack that we have. And so from that regard, a way in which that we differentiate is that we're bringing network connectivity to the systems of which that we're interacting with, the systems being ones like Microsoft, Red Hat, AWS, ServiceNow, SAP. And furthermore, you know, one thing that we've paved the way for is this idea around synchronization. We're seeing synchronization as a term really start permeating within the Web3 landscape more frequently. We're seeing it surface within the baseline protocol community more. We're seeing it actually start permeating really outside of kind of this whole enterprise community that we've all been part of for some time. And it's fantastic to see that. And that's going to be such a prevalent, important piece of the way in which enterprise systems interact with public blockchains and zero knowledge cryptography as we continue to move forward. And furthermore, you know, we're going to touch into it, but we really created this enterprise rails to facilitating the way in which this data synchronization and asset tokenization can arise. And we'll go deeper into that as we move forward today. So just very briefly, you know, this gives a very quick, I'm sure some folks in the community have seen the diagram before, but this shows the way in which the Provide open source stack and the Provide network, PRVD network, interacts with the traditional systems that we're focused on today, and how we effectively take the zero knowledge proofs cultivating from the processes that we are able to synchronize and effectively roll those proofs up, settle that onto Polygon, roll those proofs into Polygon, and ultimately settle that into Ethereum. And this is just a quick depiction of the way in which really the value of which that we're solving for. What we're doing is effectively taking these disparate systems between company A and company B, and what you're seeing there is a different ERP instance and a CRM instance. And what we're effectively doing is offering that level of data synchronization between these otherwise very disparate systems. Today, they're integrated with one another, but they're not in sync with one another. What our open source Provide stack enables us to effectively do, and this community of which that we're building, is allowing this level of data synchronization to really benefit the enterprises that that are interacting and leveraging these systems in their core business processes today and in their core business functions. And as a result of that data synchronization, we can actually tokenize the output of those business processes, which we'll get deeper into today as well.
Yeah. So thanks, Jack. So we've got the PRVD stack, which is an open source suite. It's the open source stack that our Shuttle product, which David will show here in a little bit, Shuttle makes this stack very easy to use. So we've got the service called Axiom, which is our BPI, our baseline protocol instance implementation. It's a microservice for really curating enterprise ecosystems and using composable zero knowledge by way of Shuttle for enterprise data sharing and multi-party workflows. And it's really like the core of synchronizing. It's really the core of the digital transformation, right? In terms of allowing enterprises to use zero knowledge privacy, and it's sort of the Axiom service uses all of these other microservices that you see here behind the scenes to make that possible. So we've got ident, which is our DID-based identity service, in-chain, which is fault-tolerant blockchain infrastructure that allows in number of configured blockchain networks to be interacted with in a very straightforward REST API. Then we've got our privacy microservice, which is the behind-the-scenes set of Merkle trees and persistent Merkle trees that Axiom uses behind the scenes to in terms of proving and verifying the zero knowledge proofs, and that uses a driver driven approach in terms of what provers and proving schemes are supported. We support the consensus NARC project, for example, but other privacy, other provers, lower level provers can be linked against the binary as well. And we have our Vault service, which is a hardened, multi-tenant key management system, KMS, that really has been really baked with advanced privacy and messaging capabilities. So really a maturing, PRVD stack. In the suite of microservices, we're very excited to continue to build on and harden, but really matured in terms of how long we've been working on these projects. But here's how they sort of fit into the architecture a bit, and how a work group it can interact with Shuttle and interact with the PRVD stack, and how the PRVD stack interacts with the layer 2 networks, in terms of how we actually settle the proofs. And really want to highlight here is provide payments, because we've really put in the work to build out this infrastructure in terms of the stack, but also with Shuttle and the payments project, where it's very easy and in a regulatory compliant way. I think it's a conservative approach to regulate, as the regulatory compliance environment continues to develop, especially in the United States, in terms of the payments, how we've got this DeFi and TradeFi rails, in terms of allowing organizations to leverage and send transactions into blockchain networks without having to hold crypto. I think it's a very, very big value add onto what we've built. I think Ryan is going to talk a little bit more about that.
Perfect. And today I'm going to talk about what is composable zero knowledge. Now, there's been a lot of interest and hype around zero knowledge cryptography, and essentially what it lets you do is it lets you prove or verify some attribute of information without having to reveal it. So that gives two very important characteristics to data. One is privacy, right? So that you can synchronize this data in a privacy preserving way, in such a way that even when you put this data, the zero knowledge proof, into the blockchain, it can't be brute forced apart to find the data within. Which is a really great application of cryptography. And the other is precision, right? So when you verify these zero knowledge proofs that are also known as ZK snarks or CK snarks, they're self-evidently true. And this is why we've went with the name Axiom for the Axiom service, because Axiom means self-evidently true. So we have these proofs, on chain. They're self-evidently true things. That takes us into the public blockchain, right? And at Provide, we support a number of blockchain networks. Of course, PRVD is as a layer 3, is special purpose built around our stack. But when enterprises are looking to blockchain, we really emphasize as the public mainnet as their ultimate destination for the greatest interoperability, the greatest cost savings, greatest features of which they can have. And the fourth thing, and this is so vital to why Shuttle exists, is a painless user experience. And you can see here on the right my silly graphics here, but this really applies. When you try to first learn about zero knowledge on your own, you get this feeling of, wait a minute, this is a pretty complex math, and that's wonderful and good. But if you are an enterprise developer and you want to, deploy this architecture, this integration pattern, it's so much better to have a tool like Shuttle, where everything is composed into pretty boxes. You just drag and drop into in terms of what kind of ZK circuit you need and what kind of message type from that SAP system or ServiceNow system, or even a freestyle like data definition. That's really there, and that's why we use this term composable, right? Emphasizing the composability of zero knowledge throughout all of these processes. If we want to take a look at our next slide, I have a number of updates about ProUBC, which is our SAP SDK that really sits inside of the SAP S/4HANA system, but it integrates across to all of those PRVD microservices that Kyle had described just earlier, as well as IPFS and Filecoin. We've had a really remarkable relationship there. It complements Provide Shuttle, so that as you're working with Shuttle and incorporating your SAP system to that composable zero knowledge, that everything works very seamlessly. We're very proud of this ProUBC also being the very first open source Web3 and zero knowledge SDK for SAP ABAP, which had never been really done before. Had been done for so many other languages, but it was really a work of passion to open source it and put in the effort to get that out there. If some of the things you can really see out of ProUBC is today you can take IDOCs out of SAP, which are these huge large format messages that tend to underlie all of the business processes of SAP externally, right? That's a huge area for which we can apply baseline very frequently, is in those EDI processes. And as you look more closely at the repo, there's some very comprehensive documentation for installing ProUBC through ABAP Get and then enabling in your system and connecting it to the stack. Just a few other news updates regarding ProUBC I wanted to touch on today. We're really big into CI/CD, and one of the wonderful things about ProUBC being such a large format ABAP Get project is we can really publicly demonstrate some CI/CD best practices. We've been working with a partner, Nuve, who's been helping host our SAP environments, and we'll be working together to showcase how we bring our test harness, the whole CI/CD process that's existing in PRV today, and incorporating that into SAP. Another topic here is among ABAP developers, there's been a big jump to the cloud. So ABAP and SAP Business Technology Platform, or otherwise known as Steampunk, later through this year, we'll be releasing an iteration of ProUBC specifically for Steampunk. So as these SAP clients come into PRVD and provide that, they have a future-proof solution. And the last thing here is, to really kickstart, greater involvement, with ABAP developers into this project. We'll be launching a grants program for ProUBC. So I've run down a number of things, and I would, whoa, let's jump right into the most exciting part of this. Here we go. So we talked a lot about these different use cases, and the one that we've particularly put a lot of effort into today for announcing is Provide Eco. The ECO, of course, stands for Enterprise Carbon Offsetting. And with that represents a new partnership we have specifically with KlimaDAO. Now, Jack, did you want to remark quickly here what ECO is?
Absolutely. Thanks, Brian. So, this is certainly a big statement for us. And, to our knowledge, this is the first application of zero knowledge and programmatic carbon offsetting in the Ethereum ecosystem, integrated with ERP, CRM, and traditional enterprise systems. This is really the first doing that. And interestingly, this isn't just the first within the Ethereum ecosystem that's incorporating both zero knowledge and programmatic carbon offsetting, but it's actually across the entire Web3 ecosystem, which we are incredibly thrilled and excited about embarking on this adventure together.
Yeah, and I figured that some folks on the call may not know a lot about KlimaDAO. So if we go to our next slide, what is KlimaDAO? Well, KlimaDAO provides an open, robust market infrastructure for digital carbon offsets that provide eco and that whole provide platform and SAP and a ServiceNow can tap into. So a few things you can see that are some fast facts about Klima. It enables us instant real-time sourcing of carbon offsets. Enterprises would otherwise spend a lot of time trying to locate projects, purchase them. And as a marketplace over the past year that Klima has been available, some really incredible volume has been there. They've built some wonderful reporting tools that really let you dig into the characteristics of the carbon offset that you're purchasing. It's the largest one on chain today. It's been really well battle tested. But I think one of the most important characteristics is, when you purchase a digital carbon offset and retire it on chain, this challenge of double counting that offset is really mitigated in a way. So a lot of times when folks ask, like, hey, what's a business use case for blockchain, right? Digital carbon is really a major one, particularly in the context of the problem that we're operating in. And I believe that's our next slide. Let's go there here a minute about the problem. And when you think about it, it's actually a really, really big problem. The Fortune 500 companies, the ones that most often frequently use SAP or these other enterprise systems, they have billions of tons of carbon emissions. And with that, they have some extremely urgent net zero carbon standards they have to meet by 2030 or earlier, right? So a few facts, between 7 to 13 billion tons. And there's a challenge really with even measuring carbon emissions, because you have scope 1 and scope 2, which are specific to the company, but scope 3 is to these other business partners, right? So it's a challenging problem to get to good reporting and verification there as well. And this is a area where we believe our tech stack is really going to shine, because one, you can access that digital carbon market, which had never been available to an SAP user before, and leverage that zero knowledge, that composable zero knowledge with atomic offsets. And we'll detail a little bit more about what atomic offsets are. But we're really excited and proud of the work we've done so far with Provide Eco in particular. If we go look at the next slide. So what is the basics of this, right? So you look at our SAP or ServiceNow. We'll take SAP as an example. SAP has so much of this, finance, supply chain, and manufacturing data, carbon emissions, driven type of data, in there. Often it's already aggregated right there to be reported and work with. And the Provide Web3 infrastructure in Pro UBC, PRVD, that's what facilitates this secure, battle-tested channel to get the enterprise to Klima to purchase these carbon offsets. Most importantly here, the use of Provide payments, right? This really simplifies the billing process for the enterprise in such a way that they receive an invoice in arrears for the carbon offsets they're purchasing. If we go to the next slide here, here's what we're talking about when we're talking about atomic offsets, right? Typically a lot of enterprises might buy a large number of carbon offsets, but since there's no real-time sourcing, you can never do programmatic ones that are based on a transaction. So if we look at an example here of a carbon aggregate, let's say you have a given purchase order or delivery to a specific supplier, and you can micro aggregate, how much carbon emissions are present to that specific business document, and use the provide infrastructure to do this programmatic offsetting, right? So you purchase and retire carbon through ClimaDAO. And this creates a new class of data that we call the atomic offset, right? For one, internally within the source system of record, this is a wonderful piece of data to have to report on. And we can use that zero knowledge aspect to keep the characteristics of that purchase order and represent them in zero knowledge, right? Why do that, right? So once you have proof of atomic offset, this zero knowledge proof, you bring that into the blockchain, which is publicly visible. But what happens is that these other business partners in that scope 3 level can verify against that proof with whatever limited information they have. So that really simplifies the carbon scope 3 reporting. And as you add this characteristic to the carbon retirement, you're really hardening this voluntary carbon market data for standards compliance, regulatory compliance. I'll remark here that with carbon offsets, they're often critiqued as not a perfect solution, and that's true. They're not a perfect solution to climate change, but they embark on so many wonderful positive externalities that improving the process, around carbon offsetting is a worthy endeavor, and blockchain plays a role to that. And we at Provide are especially thrilled to play a leadership role in the technology space there. I could do a quick tour around a few things that we've been building with Provide Eco. Let me share my screen just a moment here.
Sure thing. Do you need me to stop so you can start?
I should be fine. Let me just share my screen here.
Okay, cool.
And I mean, I have a number of other examples of shuttle. Here today, I had one that was specific to SAP and ServiceNow. So if you're doing this carbon scope 3 reporting across SAP to ServiceNow, you could see how this works. Let's jump over to specifically to Provide Eco. Maybe not that one. Let's go.
And Ryan, I'd like to just quickly mention that work that we've been doing around SAP and ServiceNow is the first time that we're actually seeing zero knowledge really applied to these disparate systems, such as ServiceNow and SAP, which have always been these type of enterprise systems that we have had in the vision of providing this level of connectivity to, and incorporating this the facet of composable zero knowledge too. And so we're excited to further demonstrate in the month to come around the demo that we've put together, interacting between ServiceNow and SAP.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with the great things that ServiceNow is doing in ESG reporting in particular. We're thrilled to learn more about that, and synchronize that data across all these systems, right? Let's come together on it. Looking at the zero knowledge proof aspect, I'm in Shuttle. This is our composable zero knowledge solution. There's our ZK proof, right? That's just in the console here. Another way to look at this is like through an API, right? So what Axiom really thrives at doing is, taking any kind of input. So you can tell here I have some data from the S-Flight table out of SAP. So I just took some S-Flight data. Now, typically, this is the kind of data from the inside the enterprise you don't want to put on chain. But Provide Axiom works as this API that works within the enterprise to just churn out these zero knowledge proofs, on behalf of the enterprise. looking a little bit deeper inside
Right. Maybe you could increase that size just a little bit.
Yeah. I can I
think it's
can I
okay.
make this bigger? I can't make Postman bigger
I think
necessarily.
it's okay.
Yeah. But to look around, this is where I play around every day, right? So we're actively building around provide eco. You can tell from here there's certain uses of like provide vault, to load in the credentials, the decentralized credentials that are needed, to interact with a service such as KlimaDAO, and taking that aggregate of carbon of whatever business document is inside of SAP or ServiceNow, and triggering this carbon retirement that's there. So that's a quick tour through looking what's inside there. Why don't we get back to the slide deck here a moment and wrap a few things up in terms of what we're announcing around Provide Eco. Yes. So as indicated, there will be more to be shared, both at another webinar from us, but here in the short term, we're really thrilled to invite you to KlimaDAO's next event, which is called Onset, Leveraging Digital Carbon. I'll be showing a more extensive demo there of Provide Eco, and there will also be a number of other fantastic participants that work in the digital carbon ecosystem. It was so much fun the other day when we were coordinating around what's to come on this, because you really, with the other participants from Eco Registry and Star CB, looking at this event, you'll get a whole 360 picture of the digital carbon marketplace of what kind of work goes on the ground in places around the world, in the global south, in Asia, and elsewhere around the world to produce carbon offsets and tokenize them. So you're looking at this event, leveraging digital carbon, you'll see a huge life cycle, from where the trees planted in the ground to all the way through SAP. So it'll be an awesome event. Hope to see you out there. Can someone blast a link out into the chat here too for KlimaDAO's Onset? And you can attend there. So I believe that's all I had.
Thank you, sir.
Let's
awesome.
Why don't we hand off to David here?
David, and before we do, just want to make one quick mention. As we've rolled out and are so excited to introduce Provide Eco, that further accentuates our true focus on our mission, which is driving global commerce for the betterment of humanity. And as we've pursued this endeavor around eco and have really sought to understand the goals and initiatives of many of the enterprises and governmental organizations today, we really do feel that the sustainability and ESG facet of this will be a huge mechanism to driving the value of leveraging zero knowledge, of leveraging blockchain in order to do this, as well as moving that into the asset tokenization phase. So we're really excited about this new initiative and excited to see where it will flourish too.
Yep, Provide's really built some state-of-the-art tech to do all of these things. So we're excited. David, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, we're really excited. And to dig into this next slide. So we're going to take a look at Provide Sync, and to better understand what Provide Sync is, I think it's important to touch on the products that it works with. And Provide Sync is actually a ServiceNow application, and ServiceNow is an application, a platform that allows businesses to create workflows for common business processes, right? Whether that be project tracking, IoT management, financial operations, whatever it may be. It allows businesses to create in a low-code, no-code environment workflows that sort of take care of these things behind the scenes. So it only made sense for us to build an application within ServiceNow to take those workflows that are being built in ServiceNow and put our zero knowledge workflow power and technology behind them. So what we came up with there is our application within ServiceNow called Provide Sync. Provide Sync is an application that you can install in ServiceNow, and it allows you to configure Shuttle from within your ServiceNow instance. And it allows you to easily deploy the PRVD stack within a mid server or the server that's associated with a ServiceNow deployment or instance. And there's a lot of benefits to that, right? So when you deploy our stack and in relation to ServiceNow, you get a standardized integration approach. So that allows you to integrate with partners a lot easier than you would in the traditional sense. So you no longer have to create this massive amount of traditional API connections. And the synchronization that is involved in the zero knowledge data workflows eliminates the cost from data discrepancies. So these workflows that you're building in ServiceNow, you're not getting any data discrepancies in those workflows anymore because they're being reconciled in real time thanks to the zero knowledge workflows that are being provided from Shuttle. And in the instance of Bank United, and that's our first the customer we're sort of starting with on Provide Sync, the customer that we're deploying this with, testing this with, really validating Provide Sync with. We're using this in an ITSM application. So IT service management. There is the IT third-party provider that is providing IT services to Bank United. So we're using ServiceNow and Provide Sync to make sure that this third-party vendor is getting the requests that it needs to get, and B, meeting the service level agreements or the SLAs that it has agreed to meet. So essentially, there's a problem with a computer at Bank United. A user reports that. What we're doing is making sure that the third-party vendor is meeting the service level they agreed to help that user that has a problem. And we're doing that all through Provide Sync and through ServiceNow. And I'm going to share my screen really quickly. Let's see here. And we're going to take a look at Provide Sync in ServiceNow. Let me see here. All right, so anyone familiar with ServiceNow would recognize this as a ServiceNow dashboard on the left. And on the right, we've actually got a terminal to the ServiceNow mid server. And if you're not familiar with ServiceNow, ServiceNow on the left, this is just a dashboard showing us ITSM or IT service management incidents that have occurred within the past 24 hours, ones that have happened today, ones that have not been assigned to somebody. And the terminal for the mid server is essentially the server housing the data that backs up the instance for ServiceNow. And what we're going to do is go through the guided setup for Provide Sync in ServiceNow, which will allow us to onboard this ServiceNow instance in this organization in Shuttle, actually, within a ServiceNow context. So the first thing we'll need to do is say, hey, we've created an organization for this Provide Sync company. Let's make an email here, demo email 23, Provide Sync service account. We're defining the service account from ServiceNow. It's actually going to be sort of managing this application. And then we're going to define the mid server that this application is going to be communicating with. And that'll take us right into Shuttle. So we've got Shuttle within ServiceNow. It's going to ask us to create a user. We'll do that. It's going to tell us to create an organization. Now it's automatically grab provide dev 2 because that's the name of this particular ServiceNow instance. We're just going to change it to Acme Inc. And it's going to take us through to workgroup onboarding. So it'll ask us to define a workgroup, and a workgroup, of course, in this context, is a collection of the resources that are necessary to start synchronizing the data between business participants using, a Web3 sort of environment. So we're just going to call this demo workgroup. And then we'll need to define the parameters for this work group. Now, Shuttle and the PRVD stack actually creates a very secure Web3 vault for you. So you don't have to worry about managing that. That's part of the beauty of Shuttle. It just makes Web3 easy for enterprise, for anyone really. And here, this is a really important part of the onboarding process. This is actually where we're connecting the ServiceNow instance, the ServiceNow platform, to a PRVD stack that's going to be running on the mid server. So we're essentially telling it, hey, this is the application, this is the system that needs to connect to the stack, and this is the system that needs synchronization. So we're going to enter the credentials we need to there. Hit save. It's going to validate that that system is available. We'll continue here. And then it wants us to define the domain models that are going to be used in synchronization in these workflows. And since we're talking about ITSM here, we're actually going to just pull in an incident record. And by default, Provide Sync actually includes incident tables in its application. So if we just type in incident here, it's going to interact with that ServiceNow instance, grab the model for this incident, bring it into Shuttle, and we can see it brings in all the fields that are involved in this model that are in this table in ServiceNow. And then we define a primary key, which is the thing that we're looking out for when it comes to, hey, when this thing is changed, this triggers the zero knowledge workflow. So we're going to define that as sysid here, which is the ServiceNow standard for the when you create a new incident, it gives it an ID and calls it a sysid. So that's the domain model we're going to use here. Of course, if you wanted to, you could add, a custom domain model that may or may not be coming directly from ServiceNow. That is also part of what you can do in Shuttle. And we can continue on here. And then
if you'd configured like Pro UBC as well, like an SAP system as well, you would see those models there as well.
Exactly. So if you were to configure, if you were to connect another system here like SAP, it would also automatically bring in the models coming from SAP, which is a huge time saver. It's a huge benefit because a lot of those models coming from SAP are huge. And Ryan, I think you can back that up.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that we're really proud of is this deep inside of Pro UBC's code. There's a JSON serialization of IDOCs, that just generically works out of the box. Spent some late nights working on that. So that was pretty awesome, and it always makes me smile seeing that in the onboarding. Just how simple that is, that the schemas just pop right in there.
Up here. And it really is magical.
That vision is panned out, huh?
It really is magical. And so continuing on with the onboarding in Shuttle within ServiceNow, again, because Provide Sync, that's what it does. We're going to define the networks that are used in this particular work group. And this is the networks that are used to roll up the baseline proofs that are generated from these workflows that are synchronizing the data from the workflow.
And if I may, David, so
yes.
So this UX is actually in the process of being upgraded a bit, where you just select your layer 3 first, your layer 3 network first. And what's novel about the PRVD network is that you can actually specify select layer 2 and layer 1 networks for settlement that are also EVM compatible. And so that's actually something that's very novel about the PRVD network specifically, in that you can say, well, for this workflow, I want to settle through the PRVD network. I want to settle it on Polygon, or in some workflow, in some cases, you don't have to settle on another network if you prefer, and that's really that really makes the PRVD network novel.
Yeah, well said. And like Kyle said, what we're aiming to do is make this process as simple as possible for enterprises to start leveraging the potential of Web3, because there is so much potential, and removing the barriers to entry for those enterprises is what Shuttle aims to do. It's what Provide Sync aims to do. It's what Pro UBC aims to do. It's what Provide Eco aims to do. We really want to get enterprises to start to leverage the tools that are available in Web3. And right now they can't do that. And our goal is to allow them to do that. So we finish the onboarding process, and it spits out this line of code, this one-liner. And this is the command that we need to run in our mid server to start the BPI, to start this remote baseline protocol instance stack that will allow ServiceNow to communicate with other participants in the work group. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy this code here. We're going to paste it over here in our mid server terminal. And we're going to speed this up a little bit because I do see that we're running a little short on time. But what will happen is this BPI is going to start over here in the mid server, and we'll get confirmation of that within Shuttle over here in just a second. It does take just a minute.
Yeah, so
And
it's starting an Axiom instance with the other, which is our BPI.
Exactly. So it's spinning up this Axiom instance, and if we really want to dig into it, I really don't like to show code when we're looking at these things, but we will just for shiggles. Maybe. Seems my O key is not wanting to work well. There we go. All right, so there we see the baseline logs that are happening in here in the BPI. Logs. And when we finalize the onboarding for this BPI, what's happening is this ServiceNow instance is giving all the information it needs to the BPI so that the two can interact. So essentially, when a new IT incident is created in ServiceNow, that information gets passed to the BPI and then distributed to the other participants in the work group. And in Provide Sync, there is this necessity that, hey, we need to know when something is wrong because this is an enterprise application. We've got to be notified immediately. So we set an email to let us know when an error has occurred. And then we can go in and we can start baselining incidents. I think it's a little late. Do we want to dive into baselining an incident, or do we want to go ahead and move forward and continue on?
We want to leave a little time for some Q&A, I think. We have about
15 minutes. Say we got a little bit of time.
All right, then let's do it. All right, so what we'll need to do next is then create within Shuttle a workflow that uses, that's the wrong Shuttle. Hold on just a second.
The wrong Shuttle.
The wrong Shuttle. A workflow that uses the domain model that we define, that uses that incident. So when an incident happens, it'll actually update an incident. And what we'll do, and you can do this with any other domain model. Say we had a purchase order, we would go ahead and create a purchase order workflow, and we'll give it just a second here to think. And if you haven't seen Shuttle before, which I hope most of you have, but if you haven't seen it, this is the low code, no code workflow designer, where it just pulls in the data models that you've defined and allows you to create those workflows based on those data models that use zero knowledge to sort of synchronize data within those workflows. And we will go ahead and create a sample one here. And this is just a simple purchase order workflow. We'll go ahead and deploy that. That's an example if you're using a system other than ServiceNow, if you're using SAP, if you're using any other general system and you've got a purchase order workflow, that's how easy it is to make a workflow to synchronize a purchase order. And then we'll go ahead and make one for an incident request. Incident request. And you can see on the right all the action that's happening on this BPI that's running on this mid server. There's a lot of communication happening between ServiceNow and this BPI. Essentially what it's doing is it's telling it, hey, these are the workflows that have been defined. Here are the parameters for that workflow. Here is the domain model, the data model that we're looking out for. Any changes to this domain model, that's what we want to start to synchronize. And that's what's happening on the right there. And now we're going to create this workflow for an incident. So the ITSM workflow essentially And once this finishes here thinking, we'll deploy it, and then we can show you what it looks like when an incident is created within ServiceNow that gets passed to other participants in this work group, so that you can ensure that these SLAs are being met and ensure that these other participants, say these third-party vendors, are getting the data they need to get to help users fix these incidents. So within ServiceNow, we've got this workflow deployed. We'll go back here and we'll see incident request deployed, and we'll go to create a new incident. And we're going to use here in ServiceNow my favorite caller, old Tammy Schwartzwald. She gets used a lot in our testing. So Tammy is calling, and let's say that she has a problem. Let's see. She is locked out of Active Directory, which is the thing that happens quite a lot with ITSM. So we're going to submit that here. And what we'll see on the right in just a second is the execution right here of this workflow that we've created. So if we go back and look at Shuttle really quick, we can see let's take a look at our workflows. We got this incident request. And again, on the right, we're seeing Shuttle just interact with this BPI. That's part of the Web3 aspects of what we're building. The data and everything lives within this server. It's not getting passed out to some third party like Provide. We can't see it. It all lives within the server that's connected to ServiceNow. And we'll give it just a second, and we'll see that this incident was created here. This incident request occurred. We can drop this down. We can see the proof that was created. And even within ServiceNow, we can go and we can see that this record was indeed baselined. Here we go. So this record was passed to other participants in the work group using this BPI. So now just that is the basis for ensuring that these SLAs are being met and that these vendors are getting the data they need to get to tackle these incident requests. And I feel like that was a pretty thorough introduction to ServiceNow and Provide Sync. Like Kyle and Jack said, we want some time to answer some questions, so we'll go ahead and move on from there. But if anybody wants to see more about Provide Sync, feel free to reach out.
Thanks, David. Yeah, we got like 2 more slides. We'll go through them quickly. We're excited for, and humbled, like I said, to continue on this journey. It's been a very interesting market condition, since middle to late last year. But we have a really exciting roadmap for 2023. As you see here, we've got sort of across the board. We're doing work with, with ServiceNow, with SAP, with Microsoft on the D365 side and Excel. With Red Hat, with AWS. We've got lots of stuff sort of teed up, and of course, with Provide Payments and on Provide and PRVD network itself. And later in the year, we want to really get into a POC for, right now, Shuttle is a no-code IDE. Like you can design these workflows, composable zero-knowledge workflows in Shuttle without writing code. We want to bring the ability for you to continue to do that, but also we want to bring the ability for you to write a little bit of Python, a little bit of JavaScript maybe in the browser inside of each work step. So basically bring a low code option as well, and have that code evaluated inside of the circuit. So that's an R&D project set for later this year that I'm personally very excited about. And that's the Shuttle low code ZK IDE. So that's bringing composable zero knowledge and a low code environment into Shuttle. So that's my personal sort of pet project that I'm sort of most excited about for later this year. Thanks again for coming. We got some next steps here. If you see some contact information and some links. Yeah, I think that we can probably pause here. Jack, do you want to add anything on to that?
Yeah, I'd say as we formulate some next steps, if you're an enterprise user that you find that you would see a value to leveraging this, to digging deeper into how to leverage Web3, blockchain, zero knowledge within the type of business process and workflows that you're interacting with today, Maybe you're just also a big crypto advocate within the Ethereum ecosystem, Polygon, Klima, Chainlink, whatever that might be. We are, the really the differentiated value proposition that we really focus on here at Provide is bringing that level of interaction between the enterprise and this Web3 landscape. So please reach out to us. My Calendly is there, Ryan's email is there, and we will get that coordinated with the teams. Help us show that support within the community with in social with our palm tree, as well as the other little tree we got there stemming from the Klima DAO. Those are some valuable, useful docs there. Now, real quick, if anyone has questions, feel free to raise your hand and we can get to those. I know we're a little bit short on time, but we can make sure to take any that any folks might have in the audience.
And also feel free to join us in our Telegram. You can find the link on our website. You can always find us there. If you're part of our community that's been with us for some time, thank you. Thank you for your support. And yeah, we're excited to continue this journey.
And to sort of tack onto that, Web3 is not an easy road. It's not paved. It's a bumpy road.
Yeah.
So we really appreciate you sticking with us and riding that road with us. And eventually it's going to be paved. And, I think we're going to be the people that sort of start to pave that road.
David is driving the cement truck.
Well, we were driving that truck. We're paving that road. And we really appreciate you being here and paving it with us. Let's replace that dirt road.
Yeah.
Right.
I would add too, and like eco is such a big passion project of mine, but it really drives into a typical hang up a lot of enterprise users have had with blockchain, which was the environmental footprint. So people in the know of the Ethereum ecosystem knew about the Ethereum merge, and what an incredible feat of human coordination that was to move Ethereum from the mining proof of work to proof of stake. And reducing that footprint there was a real validation of the concept of blockchains. Now we are doing like a full 180 for the enterprise. And rather than looking with hesitation at blockchains and crypto, it's really part of a broader solution in terms of driving transformational change in the sustainability practices in these large organizations. So
yeah.
Another plug for onset number 2. I put a link in the chat here, so feel free to check us out there as well in the next few weeks to come.
And we'll keep this webinar, Web3 webinar series going. We have lots of ideas and potential guests to bring on to this series. We want to make it sort of a recurring series. And Provide, I want to just say this again, Provide is here doing things for the first time. All of the stuff that we're doing, no one has done before, right? That's why it's so hard. That's why it takes time. But it's going to deliver immense enterprise value, and it's going to be revolutionary in its own right. So thanks again for attending today, and cheers.